let's go into what are the unintended consequences. Can you explain that a little bit further, then maybe expand into why the Federal Reserve allows the countries and central banks in general allow countries to create more war, more welfare, a lot of things that are just detrimental to society?
Well, the number one reason is we still don't have any education going on in our public schools or in our colleges as to how the Federal Reserve works and how dangerous it is and how much of a threat it is to our liberties. But it's ironic that we still defend this system, and I think libertarians and conservatives aren't very good at distinguishing what we have compared to what the socialists and Marxists want, because they can come up and say, look at what you guys are doing. You have free enterprise and capitalism, and look at what you have. Well, we don't have that. And we don't argue the case that we're putting up with interventionism, inflationism, and something that's very strange to what a free market would be all about. And therefore, there's a lot of downside. So in some ways, we would agree with the Marxists saying this is a terrible system. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And there's definitely some truth about that. But if you're getting richer in a free society and you haven't gotten any benefits from the Federal Reserve and you didn't have a Federal Reserve, you shouldn't condemn wealth and energy and success. But right now they lump it all together because so you can hardly get super wealthy without the benefits of the Federal Reserve. What happens is with the Federal Reserve is always creating credit. And they just think in the last 3 or 4 months, they said, well, we'll try to bail out the little guy too, but the little guys are going under. They're not even expected to come back. But the big corporations are getting bigger and bigger. And so the money is created. The Federal Reserve distributes it through the banking system. It's made available to big business and banks under ordinary circumstances, not during the bust. So they get it. And the money circulates, and there will be some stimulus, but it will be it'll facilitate deficit financing, and then it keeps going that way. But by the time the average person on the street gets the money in his hands, the value of the money went down, the value of the dollar goes down, the prices go up. So the people suffer. The people who get the money first before it loses its value are very significant, and that's why they do benefit. But of course, they're the best lobbyists in the world. You take one of the strongest lobbying group in Washington is the military-industrial complex. So they're able to lobby, and this would sort of answer the question you brought up: is why do we put up with this? Well, people are made fearful. They scare people. Just think of what's going on and the loss of liberties that has recently occurred with the coronavirus. Fear, build fear, and so we have to build up fear. I worked real hard trying to prevent the war in Iraq, but it was fear. Saddam Hussein was Hitler, and he was going to bomb us, So the people get very frightened, even though later on, most people said it was the dumbest war we've ever been in, and that takes some doing. So it's a lot of activity for the special interest, and I don't think you can just get a Federal Reserve system and say, well, do it fairly. No, it's a system that shouldn't exist, and because what we're talking about in a free market is capital doesn't come from the Federal Reserve by printing money and creating it in a computer and stimulating deficit spending by the Congress. And what they want to do is eliminate this whole idea of what capitalism is. I sort of don't like the word capitalism, but free markets and building of capital. Capital should come from what we have left over after we work and produce and take care of ourselves. And if we have a leftover, we save it or invest it. And that's capital. It has to be created in the marketplace. Capital isn't created by the Federal Reserve running a printing press. That dilutes capital. So if they double and triple the money supply without any increased production, all that does is dilute the money supply, and prices go up and distorts the markets. Not only do you have the distribution of the money in a bad way, you have malinvestment too. They make mistakes, and constantly, whether it's the subsidies that we give everybody or the wars we fight, and so it encourages a lot of mistakes. If there's a market rate of interest, the most important price that people should think about is the rate of interest, the market rate of interest, which doesn't exist anymore, because what is it now? Real interest rates are probably below zero. And that's no way to send a signal to the investors, the savers, and the producers, and making decisions about the marketplace. No, the decisions are all made about, can I grab a buck now? Can I get it from the Fed? Can I get my lobbyists to support my position? And then we will make money by participating in the wars that are created, whether they're domestic wars or foreign wars.